Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, whatever time it is with you and wherever you are. Thank you for downloading this SmackDown review as part of the WWE podcast. As always, it's an absolute pleasure to have you listening along. Once again, I am Amanda, your host of this SmackDown review. Before we get down to business and review SmackDown this week, I just want to quickly mention Raw. So it looks like Seth's injury is real and he's been officially removed as champion. I like the opening angle with Heyman and the Bronze. They're really selling this angle that Heyman's like some kind of mercenary, just hitching his wagon to whoever the next big thing is, and I think that's an okay thing for him. The backstage bit with Becky was weird. I wasn't really a massive fan of that, but mostly I'm confused. The choice of Jey Uso to face Punk for the title is insane in my opinion. Creative here had a rare moment where they could pretty much choose anyone, literally anyone on the roster to face Punk. It's like a free hit for them. And instead of picking someone new, for example, AJ Styles, LA Knight, insert names here, literally anyone. We go back to Jey, who, let's call a spade, was massively underwhelming as champion. Now, obviously, I'm a huge Punk fan. It's no secret, so I'm hoping that this will be his chance at a title run. But I do worry that Trips is going to do him dirty. I've heard rumours swirling this week on other podcasts, etc., saying that this match will lead to a big Jey heel turn and end up with another Jimmy Jey match as kind of redemption, because the last time we did that, it was embarrassingly poor. Anyway, look, that's just my 2 pennies worth on Raw. You didn't ask for it, but there you go, you got it. Also, apparently, we're getting an AJ Lee return at Madison Square Garden in November, so that's cool, hopefully to feud with Becky and take that title off of her. Anyway, let's get to it and review the SmackDown that aired from October 24th from Tempe in Arizona. Never heard of it. Obviously, I've heard of Arizona, just not the town. And thank God we've got Cole back on comms, and we start this week with a look back at the previous SmackDown and the goings-on between Fatu and McIntyre. Now, apparently, Fatu is legit off TV, as he has to have some dental work done for medical rather than injury reasons, so wishing him a speedy and safe return. And we get a playback of Drew versus Cody and a reminder of Cody's somewhat inexplicable rage with Drew. We then get our standard arrivals and we see Cody arriving, who is greeted by Jimmy. He tells Cody he appreciates what he did for Fatu last week, and that's why he's here tonight to speak to Nick Aldis about it. Cody asks him if everything is okay between Jimmy and Jey. And Jimmy says that he's seen what happened. How would you feel? Cody says he understands, as he has a brother in the game as well, and he knows they will both always do what's right for them, and that's what Jimmy needs to do. We then get Cody out to, quote, talk to the people. And be interesting to see what Cody has to say and if we get any more subtle heel turn signals. As he makes his way to the ring, though, he doesn't seem very heely. He's doing his normal huggy, kissy baby routine. And wait, I think to myself, what the F? We get a graphic up on the screen telling us that Drew is the number 1 contender now. And he has a title match at Saturday night's main event. I hate that. Cody starts off with his usual shtick and asks the crowd what they want to talk about. He says he could talk about my opponent at Saturday night's main event, Drew, and the crowd boo big time. He says he felt a bit out of pocket last week. He did something out of character when he took the title, smacked it across the head of Drew. He says he's wondering, does he need to apologise for that? We then get Drew out through the crowd. Drew says that he doesn't want any apologies or excuses, and then he turns on the crowd and asks them why they cheer Cody and boo him. He says, with all the evidence you have seen, you're still going to cheer for Cody and boo me, and the crowd duly oblige. He tells the crowd that they're all complicit in his crimes, Drew says that they're all brainwashed by corporate Cody's propaganda, and he says Cody screwed him at WrestlePalooza and last week, and somehow he still gets cheered. Drew says that he's been screwed so many times that this has become about Drew finishing his story in a direct Mickey take of the whole Cody angle we got a couple of WrestleManias ago. Drew says that he's going to finish it next week. He says, let's talk about who attacked Fatu. He says he hates the family, but he's innocent. And he says maybe it was Jimmy, the black sheep of the family. Maybe he took a leaf out of his wife's Naomi's book. With that, Cody interrupts Drew, telling him, let's start where we left off last week, because clearly he's looking for a fight, and Cody says he'll fight him right here, right now. Drew starts to make his way to the ring, but is attacked from behind by Jimmy. This is quickly split up by security, and they carry on fighting with Jimmy flying from the ring to take Drew out. In the chaos, we get Solo's music hit, and he's there with the rest of Kiss. Is MFT. They are out for a tag team match, and it's Tama Tonga and JC Mateo versus Shinsuke and Phoenix. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty unusual team. What do Phoenix and Shinsuke have together? Have they ever even interacted? Let's see. Before the match, we get an angry Drew backstage talking to Nick. Drew is saying, you wouldn't have put me in the match if you thought I was responsible for taking out Fatu. He tells Nick he's got to do something about Jimmy before Nick can answer, though. Jimmy attacks Drew again, and we get a backstage brawl. Separated again by security. I guess we're getting a Jimmy-Drew match tonight. And this is okay, but, I mean, rinse and repeat, right? We are basically running back the Jade who attacked Jade angle, who attacked Fatu. I mean, I know it's tale as old as time in WWE. People get attacked backstage. Becky did it to Bayley before Mania to take her out. It's a standard storytelling staple, but it's been so close since the Jade Naomi angle that it just feels a bit too soon. Anyway, we start off this tag team match, this incredibly random tag team match. We've got Shinsuke with some impressive strikes, as always, but he's outpowered by Tama Tonga. We get Phoenix in, and Cole tells us that this is the first time that these two have teamed together. Phoenix is in now with JC Mateo, and he has a strong start. The offense from Phoenix and Shinsuke seem to be getting under the MFT's skin as JC leaves the ring to have a toddler-style tantrum that Chelsea Green herself would be proud of. Soon enough, though, the MFTs make their numbers and familiarity as a tag team and a team in general pay, and they start to dominate. This one ends with Solo distracting the ref while Tama Tonga chokeslams Phoenix onto the ring apron, allowing Tama Tonga to hit the cutthroat on Phoenix and get the win for the MFTs. We don't get any afters, which surprised me. We just get the MFTs standing on the ramp, and that's it. No appearance from the Wyatt Six or anything this week, so maybe we're keeping our powder a little bit dry on that one. Backstage we go again, and Jimmy is with Nick. Nick is telling Jimmy that he can't have any more of this chaos tonight, and Jimmy tells him that's BS. He says everyone knows it was Drew that hurt Fatu, and he's ready to handle Drew. Nick says he can give Jimmy Drew in a match, but Jimmy says he doesn't want a match, he wants a fight. And Nick makes a no DQ match between them for tonight. So, as predicted, Jimmy Drew, and that's okay. We then go to Julia, who is approached by Chelsea and Alba. They ask her where her secretary is tonight, which I thought was quite a funny dig. Chelsea says she's excited about a merging of the brands. She says she knows all about being champ. She does the whole thing about the longest reigning and the first US women's title, blah, blah, blah. She says, let's start a campaign. Chelsea Green for the new WWE Women's Champion and Julia as VP. Kiana comes in and says that she doesn't see Discount Diva on Julia's schedule. She says Julia is busy for the foreseeable future. And I've seen some more reports this week, that Piper Niven's injury may prevent her from returning to the ring like ever, which is sad. So I guess they're trying to progress the angle with Chelsea and Alba as best they can with a woman down. I don't mind this storyline. It's important to keep the spotlight on the women's mid-card titles in order to keep them interesting. Something which I'm not completely convinced they're nailing over on Raw. Yes, we've got Becky, interjected into the Vision's storyline, but her only sort of defence to speak of has been against Maxine Dupree. Not her only defence, but that's her recent matches, so I'm not sure they're really nailing that either. So at least we've got a storyline which vaguely involves the Women's US Champ over here. Next up, we have the match between Tiffy and Kiana James and her handbag. It's a non-title match, but Cole tells us that surely if she can get a win here, it will send her to the front of the queue for title shots. Cole reminds us that Tiffy recently lost in Crown Jewel, which was her first loss of 2025, and I can't see a Kiana win here, not a clean one at least, but we do have Julia ringside, which always adds an element of never say never. This one starts off, and it should be a decent match as both these women are super athletic and both have gymnastics as part of their past. Kiana is getting in some early offense, but the crowd obviously firmly behind Tiffy as per, and so they should be. We don't really know Kiana James yet. I mean, I guess unless you're an NXT aficionado, we don't really know much about her. Tiffy turning things round, Kiana misses a moonsault off the apron, Julia distracting at ringside and allows Kiana to get a bit more offense in. Tiffy in a bit of trouble here, Julia acting like a mad woman at ringside, gobbing off to the crowd. Kiana gets herself a couple of close covers. Tiffy on a comeback and goes for the prettiest moonsault, which she misses. And that leads to Kiana hitting a Fulcanara herself and getting a close cover on the champ. Tiffy hits the swanton and follows up with the prettiest moonsault, which connects, and Tiffy, as she should here really, gets the win. Look, I thought this was a good match. Kiana made an excellent account of herself. But before Tiffy can celebrate, she is attacked by Julia, who is giving her a beatdown. And who is going to come to the rescue? Jade. Why? Yep, so Jade to the rescue and beats down Kiana and Julia in no time flat, clearing them from the ring. Jade offers Tiffy the hand and gives it the big sell of being a huge Tiffy fan before she turns and absolutely takes Tiffy's head off with a clothesline and then carries on with a massive beatdown. There is absolutely no stopping Jade here. She is battering Tiffy on the outside of the ring, so it looks like we now have a full-on heel Jade, and that certainly seems to fit her a bit better than smiley, flexing version of her that we've had so far. So I am here for this. She looks dangerous and brutal, and this might be just what we need injected into the women's roster. We finish with Jade picking up the title and making her intentions very clear. Nice, I like this angle. We get a reminder of last week where we see Sami losing his US title to Ilya Dragunov and the beatdown at the end of their match delivered by the MFT. We then go backstage where we have Ilya, who looks like he's headed to the ring. He bumps into Sami, who tells him congratulations, he didn't get to say it last week because of the MFT. Ilya says that he respects Sami so much for the US Open Challenge, and Sami says that he passes that on to him, but it's no joke, but he has faith that Ilya can do it. So look, that's great. It looks like the US Open Challenges will be continuing with Ilya. I'm pleased. I think it's a really exciting way to have the belt on the show. We go backstage and hilariously we have Kathy physically running after Jade, which is something I don't think I've ever seen before. She catches up to Jade and asks her why she attacked Tiffy and isn't she worried about the consequences. Jade says that you only face consequences when you make a mistake, and the only mistake she made was thinking this world rewards patience, but it doesn't. It rewards power, and she has taken it, and that starts with the WWE Championship. I mean, I think we had worked it out with the lingering, longing look she gave the title, but for anyone who missed it, perhaps you were glancing down on your phone or having a wee when it happened, here it is, it's telegraphed. Jade wants the title. I mean, yeah, That was a bit obvious, but I like it. Let's see how this plays out. Do we want heel Jade to beat face Tiffy? How do you guys feel about that? We now have the US Open Challenge. Ilya is out, and who will his first opponent be? Now, I hope we don't go all hot potato with this US title now. I would like to see a decent run for Ilya, but I do have a sudden worrier. Ilya gets a "you deserve it" chant. He tells the crowd that this year of recovery has had some highs and some devastating lows. He says at times he didn't see the light, he wasn't sure he'd ever return, but the one thing we all know is that he was never giving up. Because of the obsession he carries in his heart, he is the new US champion. He says he will defend the belt with all his obsession. He won it from a great man, and it's his duty to continue the Open Challenge. So who's it going to be? It's Aleister Black with Zelina Vega. Now, sigh. As a feminist, I am all for her, just her being her and doing what she wants, but Jesus wept. The new opening that they've got between them is a little bit like, and this is a bit niche for Friends fans, when Ursula, Phoebe's twin sister in Friends, was doing porn. We had Buffy the Vampire, whatever that was called. That's all I will say. If you want to go and have a look at that clip from that episode on YouTube, I'm sure it's pretty easy to find. That is what this reminded me of. So, Aleister Black versus Ilya Dragunov for the US title. This should be a good one. Cole tells us this is the first time they've ever been in the ring together, which is cool. Always love to see new matchups and see how the chemistry plays out. And as predicted, starts off pretty even in the middle of the ring. Zelina involved early doors, coming off the apron and putting Ilya into the barricade. I mean, she's tiny, teeny tiny. So it seems unlikely, but okay, whatever. Suspend that reality. Black with the upper hand gets a super close pin, like 2.9. Dragunov has Black down for the H-bomb, but Black gets his knees up last minute, which takes out Dragunov. Ilya gets himself a close cover on Black, and Dragunov, caught by a knee in midair, drops Ilya on his head, getting himself another really, really close cover. Black misses Black Mass, which leads to Dragunov hitting Torpedo Moscow, follows up with an H-bomb, but Zelina takes out Ilya from outside the ring. The referee does a brilliant "you are out of here." I bet these refs absolutely buzz when they get the opportunity to do that. They really go for it. He chucks Zelina from ringside. As she's about to leave, we get Damian Priest music hits, and he comes out looking absolutely mad as a box of frogs, selling the eye injury from the fireball, and off the distraction, Ilya hits Torpedo Moscow and does get the win over Black. First things first, what an epic match. These two left it all out there and put on an absolutely epic fight. Really pleased Dragunov retains and hopefully goes on a run while keeping up the Open Challenge, which I love the concept of. Sidebar. Don't you think it would be cool if they matched that with the women's title? I would love to see that week on week, different challenges for both titles. Anyway, this match was first class. Zelina is clearly going to be a real pain in the arse on behalf of Black, and that's also okay. A good use for Zelina, I think, as her own title run ended up with a bit of a damp squib. It feels like the crowd never really know what to do with her, so maybe this is the thing that will hit. I hope so, because she seems like good people. The ending with Priest's involvement, well, that's probably a bit inevitable. I mean, it was never going to end like that. So I think we go round one more time with these two. I don't know what match tops what they did last time, and the fireball, perhaps Priest enacts a plague of locust or something. I don't know. After the match, we get Priest in the ring, and he beats down on Black, who was left laying by Dragunov. He puts Black on the announce desk, and as Black tries to escape, Priest squishes his head between two chairs and goes for a concerto, but Zelina makes the save. So it looks like we are definitely going again with these guys, and I am okay with that. Let's hope it's something spectacular. We go back to last week, and we see the attack on Miz by Mello, and then we go straight backstage where we've got Kathy asking Mello about the tension between them two. And he says that he knows everyone is expecting to come out and be berating the Miz, but he isn't going to do that. He says it goes without saying, Miz is a future Hall of Famer. and a 2-time Grand Slam champ. He says he is forever grateful for what Miz did for him, but when he put his hands on him, it crossed the line, and Miz should never have done that. He says that this is the point of no return, and he had to get even last week. Now he's letting go. He says to the Miz they're even, and he says now he gets back on track and fulfill his destiny on SmackDown. He says he feels the support and he hears it, and he's getting back to being him. Now, before we go on to the next bit, this seems like a slight change in character for Mello. It feels like a slightly more mature version of him and his character, which I actually think is great. I feel like we're going a bit face with Mello here, and I think that's okay. There's nothing wrong with him saying that he is him. If Bianca Belair can be a face as the EST of WWE, then there's absolutely no reason why Mello can't be a face with his him gimmick. So I like that. It seems to be evolving. We then get the end of Mello's interview interrupted by Kit Wilson. Sigh, who continues to go on with this toxic masculinity thing. He tells Mello to look in the mirror and wake up. He tells him that he's poisoning the minds of a whole generation, and the language he is using is a crime on emotional intelligence. Mello tells him that it's a crime. He interrupted his interview, and for that, he will see him in the ring next week. Kit says that he will expose him next week. Now, I've got so many issues with this storyline. We haven't got time to talk about them all. I hate it. It just feels weird and wrong. I mean, if we break this down, we, as the fans, are watching grown men and women, quote unquote, fake beat each other up every week in little more than bra and pants and tights, week in, week out. I mean, and where does this fit in? Honestly, it's just nonsense. I can't even. Guys, if you think I'm wrong, tell me about it. Let's talk about it. But for me, this toxic masculinity angle is just absolute BS, and I'm not having it. Now, if you want to talk about the messaging of WWE and where we are with that at the moment, then maybe there are some questions to answer. But maybe, over Christmas break, we could throw in a little extra angle, perhaps do a little extra show about some of the storylines and angles and messaging of WWE and how that's been over the years. Maybe that would be fun. If you'd like to listen to that, then give me a shout. You can reach me on Twitter or drop something into the mailbag. Anyway, backstage, we've got Ilya looking a bit banged up after his match. Fraxi and both want to challenge for the US title. I mean, that is the beauty of the Open Challenge. Just go and give it a crack. I don't know why they have to announce it, but, whatever. Once again, DIY approach and take the mick out of Fraxium. Axiom tells Johnny, is he scared to face him? They were going to have a match, and he was going to try and steal his mask or something. We then get randomly Tamatonga, who just gives the slit throat gesture and walks off doing his yeah thing. And that was a lot shoehorned into one small segment. Where to start? Let's just get the tag team match with DIY done. That's the boring bit. And then, yes, each of Fraxium, so Nathan Frazier and Axiom, can come out and face Dragunov for the US title. At least then they've both had a title shot. I don't see either winning, but that is the beauty of the Open Challenge, right? And then the MFTs, well, at this point, I fully expect to see them crashing the women's promos as they are just everywhere, getting into everything. And I guess that is the point. We are just supposed to be completely saturated by the MFTs, and that's the point. We then go to Kathy Kelly. She's busy tonight. She's got our women's tag champs, Flair and Bliss. She asked them if they caught Bayley's social media post calling them out. I must admit I missed that. But apparently Bayley's done a social media post calling Flair and Bliss out to defend against her and Lyra over on Raw. Flair says, are they even friends? And before that can go any further, we get Nia Jax saying, how cute is all this? She says she's just waiting for one of them to turn on the other. Flair tells Nia that's called projection because she has been hurt so many times. She assumes everyone is going to be the same. Blair says she used to be like that, but she's readdressed her boundaries with relationships. And this is all very, very close to truth, I feel. Nia says that she was friends with Bliss once and she stabbed her in the back, so she warns Charlotte to be careful. Bliss says people do change, but if you're looking for a fight, you're on. So next week we got Nia versus Bliss, which is always fun. I like it. I like that we are getting believable, quote unquote, stories from the past that we know happened. Remember when Bliss got caught fat-shaming Nia and being basically a cow when they were meant to be friends? I like that WWE are going back to that and using it. And now we got a match next week. For once, Nia not in the title picture, and a nice story outside of that. Next up, we've got the main event, Drew versus Jimmy in an ODQ match. This one should be fun. Jimmy fighting for the honour of Jacob Fatu, which is actually quite sweet. This one starts off pretty standard in the ring with the crowd right away asking for tables. I mean, surely they mean the Slim Jim tables. We get tables almost straight away, and this one gets pretty gnarly with Drew using the chair to smash Jimmy's head, and we get the usual Drew trash talking during the match, reminding Jimmy that he chose the match. Drew goes for a claymore while Jimmy sat on the chair, but Jimmy counters with a beautiful drop toe hold, putting Drew into the seat of the chair, which looked pretty cool. This one ends as Drew hits a claymore and gets the cover. It was all pretty quick, but after the match, Drew obviously isn't done and he continues to beat down Jimmy. Cole saying, sending a message to Cody, and bang on cue, we got Cody out to make the save, and him and Drew carry on pretty much where they left off last week. Cody getting the upper hand and saving Jimmy, and Drew, like the absolute shite that he is, comes back into the ring while Cody is looking after Jimmy and hits the claymore. And that's where we go off air. So, what do we think? Will Drew beat Cody? I'm not sure. I mean, this Drew getting screwed storyline has to come to an end at some point. And I guess at some point there is going to be a payoff, which is Drew actually reversing his luck and not getting screwed, and he actually takes the title. I mean, if you look at things outside of character, the man of Drew McIntyre probably does deserve to have a nice title run, because let's not forget, in the horrible, horrible pandemic era where we were in big empty warehouses with video screens at one point. What do we call it? The Thunderdome or something? I can't remember. Anyway, it was pretty bleak times. McIntyre was our champion at that point, and I do remember feeling things. You know, he used to come over to the camera, break the fourth wall and be talking down the camera, you know, when he was a face. So actually, if you separate man from character, Drew actually probably does deserve to have a title run. But are we ready for that? And are we ready for Cody to be beaten? I think that might be quite interesting. I don't want to get too far into predictions, because obviously I'll make my predictions for Saturday night's main event next week, but maybe I wouldn't hate it if Drew beats Cody, Cody turns heel, and then we end up with a heel Cody and possibly a heel Jay at the same time. I've got a feeling there's going to be another angle worked in, remembering that Punk is also there at Saturday night's main event, although he's got his own business. But let's leave that for next week. I've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole there, but it's an interesting time to think about all these things. So all in all, I thought another really solid show. No, it wasn't as good as last week, but still good. And the build to Saturday night main event continues, as well as some really interesting stories within the women's division. And I'm really pleased to see that they can have titles and stories storylines that are outside of the titles, which I think is a really good sign of development. So guys, let me know what you think. Reach out on X, drop something into the mailbag. I'd love to know your thoughts on how you think SmackDown is going at the moment. That just about does it for this week's show. As always, thank you for having me in your ears, and remember, until next time, be kind.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.